Welcome.
Hey, welcome to the Vented Out podcast. Before we get to today's topic, we want to go ahead and start out with some positivity. There's a lot of negativity that goes on throughout today's world, whether it's through social media or media in general, and then even in person, you hear people talk about the bad stuff that's going on.
Absolutely.
And we want to contribute to being that change. And this is the community that we want to create, is to spread more positivity.
Well, absolutely, because we're going to hit those subjects as well, but we have to meet kind of a balance with it.
Right, exactly. I mean, and to do that, if there's anything great that has happened to you lately, no matter how small or big you think it is,
Right.
trust me, it's worth sharing. And the more people hear the good stuff, it's only going to spread. So if we're going to create a wildfire, why not create one that benefits everyone altogether? And so we don't really have much from our audience for today, but I want to go ahead and still give a massive shout out to everyone out there that is accomplishing their goals, that are sitting out there. This is our step one to reaching our own goals.
Yes, sir.
So it's our very first episode, and we're going to start big and heavy, and we are going to start with the most relevant news.
Right.
But again, before we get into that, I just want to let you guys know that today we will be donating some pizza to the Clovis Police Department. So we will be driving there, and while we're driving, this is going to be the format of a lot of our podcasts. Is going to be wherever we're donating something to, we want you to be part of this live platform, and we're going to drive there, and you guys are going to see where that donation money is going, as we've mentioned in our intro video. So now let's go ahead and get started. So before we say anything, just want to offer our condolences to everyone affected by the most recent school shootings, not just particularly in Texas, although that is the most recent. It is crazy how often they've become.
No, it's absolutely insane. We're almost at 30, and we're in May, and this is just America we're talking about here.
Yeah, and not to say they don't happen anywhere else in the world, but we can only talk about what's happening in the U.S. because that's our country, right?
Yeah.
That's where we live, and that's where we want the change to occur, right? Because it's going to affect our futures, it's going to affect your future, and it's just crazy to me, man. And being an 18-year-old kid, being just a kid in general, and to already have this type of train of thought, like, I am going to do this.
Yeah, because your label as an adult, sure, but you really are still a child at that age, especially these days in this age. You really are still looked at as a child and adolescent in a sense.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't even fully believe that they have anything going through their head, because obviously they've turned whatever thinking cap they had on, they took it off to make that decision. And
there's absolutely no sense at all. Definitely.
You could try to find all these reasons why they did it, why it just happened that way. And it sucks, man. It sucks that other people's lives have to pay for us to learn that this person was going through some type of situation themselves. For in this case, the most recent Texas shooting was because he was being bullied in his high school. Now that before we talk about anything, it's easy to put blame on one thing or another, right?
Exactly. It's almost like making an excuse.
Right, and who is to blame? Is it the parents? Is it the grandparents? Is it the environment? Is it the kids?
Policy?
Is it the school
policy?
Yeah, and
absolutely.
In my opinion, it's a little bit of everything and a little bit of nothing, because at the end of the day, we can't say it, because there have been shootings where the parents and everything, the situation was ideal, right? You see that with the serial killers as well, like these people, they some of these people just develop that way,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, and no matter how much we try to understand it, there really is no clear understanding. So, and then when all this blame stuff is going on, that's the type of stuff that kind of messes with me. Is like,
Yeah.
you know, this happens, then everybody posts about it,
Yeah.
and then everyone sends their prayers and their hopes and everything to the families, and then they put a blame on something or someone, and then they move on. That is it.
Yeah.
Like, that has been the main...
It kind of allows people to step away from it because they're blamed, they attack it, it's their
Yes.
fault, they should take care of it, I should walk away because it's not my fault. But we're all a part of it.
Right, and it's gotta stop. And
Absolutely.
we gotta stop. I'm gonna go ahead and address the elephant in the room because
All right.
I see it everywhere. It's whether gun control is good or bad has nothing to do with school shootings. I will say that out loud because you really
I
think
agree.
about it. Yes, having gun control prevents a lot of people from accessing guns,
Right.
but just remember, it also prevents the people that can protect. Right? Like, for
I absolutely
example,
agree.
if you go to a school where you know, some of the members are strapped, they have their guns,
Right.
maybe they would have stopped it, right? So, like, you really have to see two sides of the fence. You can't just
There's too
say,
many factors.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And so, like, what are the solutions?
Right.
Right? Not too many people thinking about the solution, because so many people find one thing, and because they are against that thing,
Right.
they will go ahead and agree with everyone else, right? So
Right.
this is
In
what
safety.
we mean.
Right.
We
Of
have
course.
two extremes. That's where everybody is now, and it's
Right.
frustrating.
Because don't get me wrong, in the ideal world, in a sense, there are no guns at all, period. So no one needs them because no one has them. But that's not the reality we live in.
And I guarantee you this: people will still kill in some other fashion.
As it's been shown, the UK, they lost their guns and had their guns taken. Now the stabbings are just rampant, and it's, you know, now the mafia and cartel and so on, they become a little more powerful. The guns sell for higher.
Yeah, so
it gets nasty.
We need to really look beyond that, right?
Yeah.
We can't just stay stuck there every time this comes around.
Definitely.
You know, you have to understand where this starts, because really it is a mental health issue, right? It's
At the end of the day.
how the brain develops for a certain individual. What can we all do to contribute to this and prevent it from happening again?
Right.
Right? In my opinion, and if we want to start from step one, is I'll tell you a little bit of this, Justin. Like, when I grew up, when I came to America, I wasn't born here. I was born in India, and I came here when September 11 happened.
Yes, sir.
I came here in 2001, and I lived in Phoenix. And as many of you know, Phoenix is a predominantly Caucasian town, and it is a very conservative town as well, or at least it was at the time I was there.
Right.
And I remember as soon as that happened, man, like, I remember like some students that were distancing, or people, like, anytime we would go anywhere, you know, it would be a different set of eyes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes those different set of eyes continue to be here today, right? Because
Of course.
of the image that the media creates,
Yeah.
and people follow, and that's
becomes
another
embedded.
yeah, there's so many topics, like, in regards to that we will discuss in later
course.
episodes,
Of
but
course.
I just wanted to give you a little backstory that I've been through that, right? Like, I've
Yeah.
been bullied in
So you're
elementary.
not necessarily looked at as a fellow human being, but almost something else to where
Right,
they can
right.
make
And-
fun of it and pick on you. And it's
Right,
Just, it's not
and
right at all.
Right, and I've been, now it wasn't some extreme bullying. It was more like name calling. I was always the biggest kid in the class, so no one really hurt me
Right.
physically. But a lot of people would,
Mental is just
call
as
me
painful.
names
Absolutely.
and all that stuff. And
Well, supposedly that's, kind of this guy's issue was, he was being bullied. So
Bullied.
mental is just as strenuous and, and terrible.
And the one thing I wanted to kind of segue into was, my mentality was different. Like,
yes,
and I was raised in the family, and I was surrounded by people outside of my family that that led to me understanding that these things are temporary, and it's just kids, unfortunately, there will be bullies. Absolutely. Regardless of how great of a parent you are, because as a parent you are not with your kid 24/7. Eventually they do go ahead and fall into a crowd that may be different, and sometimes they will be with that crowd longer than they will be with their family. And
no, you're absolutely right. That's 8 hours a day.
Exactly. And so the best thing I feel like you could teach your kid is the reality that, hey, kids are mean. Like,
they can be
mean, and these things can happen. And if they do happen, how can you deal with them? Don't hesitate from telling us. Don't hesitate from telling someone. And I'll tell you this, man. Sometimes you don't want to tell anyone because then you'll feel like you're a chicken, right? Like, kids do that. Oh, he's a tattletale. Oh, he told him.
Or you're almost making the situation more real by addressing it as such. You almost want to ignore it and pretend like it didn't even happen to you.
Right.
But we have to realize these things do happen, and you can't freeze up about it.
Right. And even if you are opening up, and as a parent, the best thing you can tell them is be fully open. Hey, if it does happen, just remember this is a temporary thing. It's not something to lose yourself over. And if you're getting to a point where you feel like you're losing yourself over, reach out. Like it. And I do see, reach out to people, reach out to your friends parents, your parents especially.
That's right.
Your teachers, anybody.
It doesn't show weakness in any way, shape, or form at all.
Exactly. And we need to, and I think a lot of parents, and again, the blame is not on parents, right? I am saying
they can't know everything.
They can't know everything, and we trust society to do good. And unfortunately, it doesn't always turn out that way. So what can we do other than teaching our kids a correct way? I feel like, there are still other defensive measures that the city and the public schools and all of them can take as well. I don't know if you saw one of the posts I sent you over the weekend, right? Like with that, the ex-military veteran.
I saw that.
Who volunteered to be an armed guard at a school. And I think that's freaking cool if you are mentally capable after the war, because not every veteran is. Right. If you are mentally capable, meaning you could go take a test, see if you can be, if you're mentally stable enough to go ahead and carry a weapon, and if you want to do this, why not tackle two birds with one stone, where you can fund schools being able to hire an ex-mercenary who wants to be there.
Because they're still going to be around children, obviously. So they have
look,
to be.
You're actually, and I said two birds with one stone, but you're actually doing three things, man. Like, one, you're creating a job for that ex-military person.
Definitely.
Two, you're keeping these kids safe.
Right.
And three, and this is like where it's a common thing between elders and ex-military people, is they feel alone because they don't have a sense of joy around them much. And it's actually, you can look up some of the studies, like, which is why there's a special bond between grandchildren and grandparents, is because it's kids just have this charm to them that makes you, like, feel more loved or love them more often, and it just creates a genuine side of you. Not everyone, but I'd say mostly everyone that does that. And so you're only doing that veteran a service as well to surround them with these positive beings around, right? And they're gonna feel that they're done defending the country, but now they're defending their own town, and there's a sense of happiness that goes along with that as well. Now,
a lot of people will argue too, that it may create a sense of fear for the children, possibly, to see a man armed walking around these kids and so on. But I went to Clovis East, as you did, and we had police officers around, and honestly, I nothing but loved seeing them around.
And bro, like, the thing is, there's a different, right? Like, I've heard someone say, "Oh man, that's like basically prison guards. They're carrying guns around,
right.
people." But
that's not what I saw.
The sense of purpose is two different things,
totally,
though. Like,
totally.
For prison, you're armed to contain.
Right.
With these schools, you would be armed to protect.
Absolute protection.
And so it's a two completely different mindset,
right,
of options.
And you can never have enough eyes at school.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to having a parental force, or even a kid gets hurt, now he can help them, and it may not necessarily be guns. He's still approved to help them stop from choking, or
and now,
stop a fight.
Exactly, and I know some people are gonna be like, well, okay, I just don't feel comfy with someone walking around with guns around school. Okay,
I respect that.
That's fine. I respect it, but given the chances, and again, it sucks, and I know that the chances of a school shooting are still fairly low, right? Like,
right,
it's still not as disturbingly too common.
Absolutely.
But it's not to the point where, like, it's greater than, I don't know, getting bit by a shark or whatever it might happen.
No, absolutely.
But would you want to risk that chance?
Not at all.
Is there really a price to the lives of children, to these futures that you're putting at jeopardy without any type of security?
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that they kind of only say that because it's children, but the guns don't have to be out. They don't have to be shown. The children don't even have to know that they're there, because you go to a bank, there's an armed guard. You go to a country show, or a concert, there's an armed guard. You look at the president, he's got an armed guard. You go to everybody that we see of some sort of importance, there's armed guards. Children are literally our future. There needs to be some kind of guard. To pretend like that doesn't exist is chancing it too high.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you saw another post, which was really cool, was there's a certain school district or a school in Louisville, and I just recently saw a post about it this morning, and I kind of watched the video that they had showcased about their security system.
Okay.
They spent about $400,000 in their school budget to it, but it's really cool, man. Like, so what they do is they have a drill for all these students, right? Every classroom, if there's an active shooter or anything, what they do is they have these lines drawn in class.
Okay.
And everybody knows that to create a barricade behind that line with their desks. Okay.
Whoa.
And then when they do that, here's a cool part. There's every teacher has access to this button that they press.
Okay.
To alert the local cops that there's an active shooter.
I like that a lot.
So when they do that, guess what happens?
Just like a bank.
The their local police station has cameras inside the school or they have access to the cameras inside the school, so they're able to see the hallways, and a smoke is released, so that way all of the hallways are basically they're smoked out.
Wow.
And the person can't see what's in front of them or anything, so they're basically, and there's loud noises. Basically, what it's doing is taking away their sense of sight and sense of sound, because now you don't know what's coming, what sound is coming from, and it just basically blinds them in the senses. And within 10 minutes, the cops are there because they know what's going on, and they're able to have access to the cameras. They are able to see where this person is.
Right.
And for $400,000, that's a damn school saved.
Right.
But
and we, as we know, it's difficult to get funding for schools sometimes, and we've got, schools even just here in Fresno.
Yeah.
As a lot of us have gone to a few of them before. It's hard for them to get, equipment for the football team.
Yeah.
So for them to come up $400,000 for every school would obviously be a challenge. And now, don't get me wrong, this is a difficult subject for me to speak on specifically, because I may not have a child myself now, but I don't think that deprives me of my moral emotion of knowing that I would want children protected, knowing that that's still our future. Because I see it as if those are my children in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, and it's just, we've got to stop. And if it comes down to those type of funding things, that's actually something we, the community, should be funding, should be
Absolutely.
open to funding.
Absolutely agree.
For every single school
That's
district.
where I want my taxes going.
And, you know, we're already paying for a lot of this bullshit.
Yeah.
Why not pay for something that we can all universally agree on, which is, hey, kids are important. Hey, kids' lives are important. And we need to go ahead and make sure that we can take care of them.
Yeah.
Whenever possible. You know, if you guys have any feedback, any recommendations, any opinions on this topic,
Yeah, any comments on anything that we've given,
please leave it down below. We will love to hear your thoughts. And we have just arrived at the headquarters for the Clovis Police Department, and we are now going to be providing them with the hot pizzas we got in the back. You can follow us on Instagram, Vented Out Podcast, the same way spelled on here on our channel. And we hope that you can be part of this community we're trying to create. Let's address these issues. Let's at least vent them out. Let's at least talk about them. You know, we don't necessarily always have to have a resolution, as long as we can have that topic fresh in our minds, keep it fresh in our minds until we do have some type of resolution. I think it's important that we keep that in mind and we continue to build on it. Don't just let it go away until it happens again. Act on it now, and let's hope for the best. Peace out.
Love you.